Welcome to Starfield, the most recent release by Bethesda. I have been playing it for the past 2 weeks and took in everything that the universe had to offer to me. So what is Starfield exactly? Starfield is a sci-fi open-world single-player RPG. It is essentially marketed as their hit game Skyrim, but in space. I don't have that much experience or knowledge in Bethesda's previous games. I only have like 25 hours in Skyrim. That's like the only Bethesda game I've played before this. This is going to be one of the longer reviews I've done. I tried trimming it down, but there's just too much to talk about, so let's just get started. So you start off on a mining planet and you're able to create your character and how it looks, what traits your character will have. And once you do all that, you're told to like mine something suspicious, and it turns out it's an artifact with its origins unknown and has mysterious powers. This attracts the attention of an organization called Constellation, and since they're interested in the artifacts, you're recruited to be one of them. And after joining Constellation, the story opens up and you can do side missions, make outposts, collect resources, quote-unquote travel through the galaxy, or go through the main mission. Alright, the story. How was it? Was it any good? It is a single-player RPG after all, so it should be decent. I have a total of 25 to 30 hours into the game, and I will say I was not interested in the first 15 hours of the game, which is pretty sad, because during these 15 hours, it's just a bunch of fetch quests, and then basically it makes you jump from planet to planet, and obviously it's a realistic setting in which these planets are essentially just like either a gas or a barren rock planet, but it's just not very interesting or a fun thing to experience. Of the main quests, there were only 2 standout missions in the 15-ish hour main quest line. I only enjoyed the final mission and the mission that was heavily inspired by Titanfall 2 mission. That was it. It wasn't that great, mostly because the quests themselves were just going from point A to point B in the most boring and straightforward way possible. Other than that, I also did the Crimson Fleet side mission, which felt like a side adventure, and that was amazing. It felt like a lot more effort was put into like these side adventures than the main stories themselves, which is really sad to see because not everyone is going to experience it because it's labeled as a side mission. I'm one of those people who do main missions and do very little side quests, and I only do the side quests if they're worth my time. So just the fact like it's behind, or like something as great as like Crimson Fleet is behind a side mission, not everyone's gonna experience something that's great like that. We have all heard of games where it gets good once you get past like the tutorial level or the second world or whatever, but as a community it's usually definitive. I've never seen a community so divided before it than Starfield. There are people that say it's amazing from the beginning, then there's others that say it takes you up until you join Constellation, then there's others after 10 hours. Then there's people that say it gets good after beating the game 3 times. If I have to invest that much hours to just trust someone that'll get good after, I don't know, 60 hours of torture, is it really a good game, or is it just a very, very bad design flaw? Look, I understand if games need a slow start. I love JRPGs, and almost all of them need like 2 to 5 hours to get things going. But Starfield, for me, it took 15 hours for it to get decent. 15 hours is too long, and I think the main issue is that a lot of the core mechanics just have problems that I will go over later. The combat. Not the best I've experienced, but this is not supposed to be like a combat-driven game. This game was advertised and emphasized more of like an exploration and story, so I don't expect combat to be like spectacular. But it's very mundane. There are like 5-ish different gun types, but I really didn't have a good sense of what the guns were. They all feel the same, except for shotgun for obvious reasons, but with like obscure ammo types and names that I could never remember for what ammo type for which gun. And yes, it's not supposed to be a Borderlands in terms of gunplay, but when you have these perks called like Cornered, Cindery, Bashing, and Rapid, it makes me feel like they almost wanted it to be a looter shooter, but ultimately they all feel the same, and it gets more frustrating when you have to use a weapon when you don't have the skill for that weapon type upgrade. For example, having a rank 3 pistol will give you a whopping 50% damage boost. no need to use any other gun since getting skill points takes so long. I'll get into skills later, but the combat isn't all that good, even if combat is not a central focus of the game. Sneaking is terrible. I regret starting with sneak skills. It doesn't feel all that great, and it takes so long for the enemies to forget about you after being spotted, even if you're a mile away and not in line of sight of any of the AIs. The AI must also have like an insane field of view because there's no way you can sneak past them. I've read somewhere that the AI takes account into audio, that your character makes way too much audio apparently, so you can be hidden from line of sight, but if you make one wrong sound that you can definitely control, you're gonna be spotted. And if you're like me that realized how terrible sneak is, you can't really respec or get rid of that skill, you'll have it forever. Ship battles are not that good. In concept, I think it's cool that you can redirect powers from like shield engines to weapons, but in practice, it's not that great. Maybe because I was on keyboard, I had to control the movement of the ship with WASD in my mouse, and if I wanted to redirect power, I had to take my hand off my mouse and use the arrow keys. So it wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, and the enemy ships hit so hard that I had to lower the difficulty from normal to very easy. And even then I was still having problems. I can't really tell you the exact reason, but it seems like I had no clear indication that I was taking damage until it was too late, and even on the lowest difficulty, the AI was very aggressive and seemed to instantly lock onto me and just melt me. But it takes a while for me to maneuver my ship, especially since I have like the awkward process of me trying to like redirect power, and also it takes me a while to lock onto a ship, and for some reason, still on very easy difficulty, I can't melt them as fast as they melt me. So ship combat is just very hard for no reason, and I'd assume it can be fixed with a simple patch or a mod. Mods. Did I use any? For the sake of making this review, I wanted to play the game as clean as possible. So no star UI, no enhanced health bars, no enhanced dialogue interface or whatever. I only downloaded an optimization mod that I forgot the name of since I'm using an NVIDIA graphics card, whole AMD deal. If you know, if you don't know, look it up. It's kind of complicated. But that's it. But anyone who are using these mods are so lucky. Why? Because there are just awful glaring issues, such as the UI, that makes me just want to puke. But after release, it takes a week for a singular person to fix and revamp all that. Like, I look at all these random items on the table, I have no idea if they're useful. In fact, when I loot a body, I don't know if I'm looking at like a name of a gun or a toy in a different language. Do I really need a mod to tell me if this is a plant or a gun? Then the UI itself is just a mess. I have problems at first navigating through maps and loading screens while traveling. The inventory UI tells me little to no information. You really need mods to make this part of the game not give you so much stress that you somehow grew gray hair. When I think of mods that cater to the user's personal experience rather than needs. I modded Persona 5 when I played through it, but none of them were game-breaking, like fixing the UI, reworking sneak detection. In Persona, I only had like visual and audio mods, such as like swapping music tracks, color-coded icons and cut-ins, and like a Discord-rich presence. But like none of it like affected the gameplay because I didn't see any major flaws. Starfield, however, I was tempted so many times to add mods to make the gameplay better. If I need mods to make the gameplay better rather than looks, then there's a big issue in the game itself. The skills in this game could have been done better. Number 1, you get skill points every time you level up. Simple enough. How often do you level up? Not as freaking as I liked it to be. I think by the time I beat the game, I was level 20-ish, so that was roughly 1 level per hour, and considering how many skills there are, not to mention some of these are very important, such as using a jetpack, you don't really get that much freedom of what you can pick. And to make this worse, you can't respec your points, so if you made a grave mistake investing into something like sneak, there's no take-backsies. And each skill has 4 different ranks, but in order to increase the rank, you have to complete the objective in that rank before you can proceed in using the skill point. For example, the pistol certification, rank 1, gives you a 10% damage buff for using pistols. But to increase it to rank 2, you need to get like 20 pistol kills, then you can use a skill point to get to rank 2. Why are there so many steps in trying to get a simple damage buff in pistols? And the skills are not just for combat, it applies to things such as persuasion, jumping, flying your ship, scanning, etc. It's too much work for very basic skills in my opinion. If it were me, I would make it to where if you wanted to not do the challenge, you can use a skill point to bypass the challenge and rank up. And if you were able to do the challenge, then you rank up for free of charge. That way it rewards you in doing activities or things in all aspects of the game. But if I'm limited in skills, then who cares about scanning planets or plants? That's just a waste of a skill point, because I feel like the hour I spent to get that singular skill point will just get wasted in just looking at rocks. This skill tree had so much potential, but really it's just there for show rather than for any practical use. Exploration. So obviously, this is not No Man's Sky. Even when you think of an open world sci-fi game, Starfield is not an exploration game. Why? Because I never found the need to explore planetside. I did explore the star charts and realized the destination was too far from my starship for some unknown reason. So I had to go to a solar system before going to like the destination I actually wanted to go. But planetside exploration was terrible. There was nothing on these planets. I do understand that these are somewhat like realistic, rocky, barren planets, but the point of interest in these planets might as well just not exist. The only time I was ever on foot on a random planet was to do the temple thingies, which, on a side note, was cool, but only the first time. Every other time was very, very boring, and I wanted to play a different game. The lack of cars or land vehicles also makes me want to punch my monitor off of pure boredom. When I had to travel far on foot, mostly to a temple, I was pressing W to move forward on one hand, and I was playing Clash Royale on my phone on my other hand. I'd finish my 3-minute game on Clash Royale only to find out I still haven't made it to the destination. So during those 3 minutes, no encounters with, I don't know, pirates, wildlife, terrain, or anything. I was just walking forward, playing Clash Royale on my phone. Maybe I needed skills like geology or chemistry to make it worthwhile, but the skill tree is already flawed as it is, since the skill tree promotes a very focused and narrow way of playing, so I'll never know. EndGame. You probably heard some buzz about the EndGame and New Game Plus by now. It's been like a month, so I don't feel too bad about saying this, but New Game Plus is not the normal New Game Plus that you see in literally any other game. You lose all your progress. Yes, all your progress. Your ships, your outposts, your inventory, your money, your companion, your crew, your drip, even your significant other. Except for your skill points, since I guess Bethesda knows how hard it is to level up. Other than skills, everything is wiped out because of story reasons, and it's just stupid. I've seen people pour tons of hours into like building their outposts and ships and whatnot, just for it to get erased. This literally killed it for me, and I have not opened the game since, because I realize all my hard work has been wiped, and I would have to redo the terrible, nonchalant like missions all over again. Characters. I almost forgot about adding this section because the characters are so forgettable. Yes, you can marry people. I married Sarah only because she was like the only person I remembered by their name because of her accent. But no one was interesting. And frankly, I didn't care for any of them. And I think a couple of villains in like the side adventures were somewhat cool. But for any of the companions, they were all boring and lame. I don't know any solutions to this except, I don't know, give us a reason to like them, I guess. I think of Cyberpunk, which is kind of a similar game, and they have tons of cool characters that I care about. I'd actually scream if anything happened to them. But for Starfield, if anything happened to them, I wouldn't care. I'd actually be happy if something happened to them, just so then I can possibly remember their name through their funeral plaque. I don't know. Wow, I said a lot of bad things about the game, so I feel like I should say some good stuff. I do like the side adventures, such as the Crimson Fleet mission. I thought that was very well made, and most definitely should have been like a main mission, because I feel like everyone should experience that. I think the audio and sound effects are pretty good. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels very immersive and very cool. I think in general, like the theming has been good. I believe they're going for like a NASA punk like feel. I think that's how they advertise it as, and it's been fairly consistent throughout, and and it works. I'm not a big guy in photo modes for games, but the photo mode had a lot of options. If you do run across like a rare instance of a cool landscape, the photo mode has a lot of good options and camera angles that help you capture the perfect shot. I didn't dabble into shipbuilding and outposts, since it's not really my thing, but from what I've heard, they've been really cool experiences. Yeah, I went into like a couple of spaceships that I found, and I look in it and I'm like, wow, I could build a ship and make it cool like this. But even if they have like these cool small-sided features, the big things that you'd expect from like a modern sci-fi open world game, it just falls flat and becomes frustrating sometimes. An oddly injected looter shooter like guns, terrible spaceship battles, tons of loading screens, boring exploration, too reliant on skills, and lackluster combat just makes the experience not enjoyable at all. I almost feel like they tried doing everything, but in turn did nothing that makes this into a standout experience. Thus, this makes a very average and mediocre game. It's not the worst game, but there are better games, and unfortunately just doesn't live up to the hype. I think if you've played and enjoyed previous Bethesda games, then you'll enjoy something out of this. If you're like me and haven't really played any Bethesda games, and also like sci-fi games, you should probably stay clear of this game and save your $70. I'm so glad I played this through the Xbox Game Pass, because I would have been crying in the club. I won't lie, I was very excited about this game. After watching the direct a few months ago, I was in a massive sci-fi mood and decided to do a whole playthrough of the Mass Effect series, including Andromeda. But now, I just feel disappointed in myself for getting too excited from the direct to where I just have a negative outlook on this game because it didn't reach my own personal expectations. So yes, in my opinion, it's a terrible single-player sci-fi game. Objectively, taking everything into account, it's an average game. Just doesn't have any real defining feature or moment in my opinion. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I plan on doing more of these reviews for any games that I decide to play, and there's a chance that I'll be streaming them. See you later.